So we're walking away from the city gate where Renzo Piano's Malta Parliament is located, and I'm walking on the main street if I'm not mistaken. So just look at the crowd on this main street, which is expected since this is a major tourist destination. And of course you have the typical retail stores, Starbucks. We have those projecting balconies, which they say is of Moorish influence, but I wonder what it's like to be living in one of those balconies, in those buildings, and looking out of the balcony. So I'm just gonna walk down this main street and see what's on the other end. So definitely you have side streets such as this one, this one, and then what major city doesn't have a McDonald's, right? So you're not officially a global city unless you have Starbucks or McDonald's. I guess it's okay for as long as the critical mass of the place is culture, is something unique for that destination. You give people reason to go there, and in this case, Valletta being a major fortified city, not major but a fortified city in the Mediterranean, they say that when you draw a line horizontally and then vertically, the Malta island is in the middle of that. So it's surrounded by the African continent, Asia. I'm not sure about Asia, but I have to review my geography, but definitely European countries. It has Arabian influences as well. So it's really a melting pot. There's no doubt about it. You hear different languages. I would hear Italian, Spanish, even French being spoken, because I guess this was a colony of these countries for some time. That's why it is an interesting location. So still walking. Still walking, just experiencing the main street, which is really an important element in a destination or a city. You could say it's a spine of the city. Where all the shops, mostly international so far. You can't expect a traditional, maybe you can, I'm not so sure, surviving in a very expensive real estate such as this main street. Of course, you have the souvenir shops, and then cafe al fresco, and it's something that we are trying to emulate and mimic in the Philippines, wherein we have a lot of al fresco sitting and dining in our shopping malls. This is the precedent of that condition, because you want to be part of the city, you want to be part of the street culture. So they say their houses may be small in Europe because they live on the streets. So again, a major artery that opens up to a piazza. A piazza that normally in a Spanish colonial country would have a government building, a church, because religion is an important component of the society. So we are in an open square, and mind you guys, this was the location of the latest Jurassic Park movie. That's why we have blue of Jurassic World. So now he becomes part of Malta's heritage. Maybe this is the actual size of blue while running the streets of Malta. Really cool. Who would have thought that I'll meet the blue in person just by doing an urban design architecture tour of Malta. That's a quiet, modern lamp post. I wonder what it is, what the inspiration was. So they also do city tours bus. Probably it's electric powered. And again, what's dominating in the architecture fabric of the buildings here in Malta are those projecting balconies. Sometimes it's in different colors. Right now all I'm seeing are green. I wonder if there's a symbolical meaning to it. So I'm reaching the end of the main street, and it's becoming quieter. Nothing is happening here except like a street with filled with cars. I just came out of the main street and then went through this side streets from the main street, and now I ended up with in a street where there are cafes, and I find it interesting that they have the remnants of the projecting balconies by the side of the street as part of the cafe, because they have those projecting balconies, remember, and in some areas those projecting balconies are either colored green or red. So I decided to walk this way. Interesting residential buildings, and I wonder how it was like when there were low cars and people are just walking, probably on horse carriages. I don't know if there were horse carriages during that time. And for some reason, when you hang clothes in a place like this is acceptable, but when you have a modern building where everything is curated, having clothes hanging in the balcony is an eyesore. I think I want to try those later. I think those are meringue in a very charming shop. But I'm curious what this road leads to, because I can see the ocean. Again, very quiet side streets. Again, more opportunity for photo shoots. And I guess this is a church. Unfortunately, it is closed. I'm wondering how it's like inside. So again, we are away from the crowded areas, and I think that's what's nice about this place, is that not all the streets are crowded, and you can find a very quiet area such as this one and enjoy a very relaxing stroll and appreciation of the city. Again, another church. Really reminds me of Manila's Intramuros if it was preserved properly, because I remember in history classes wherein the city was filled with stone houses or bahay na bato, and the only dominant buildings that you will notice in the skyline of Intramuros are the churches. And I'm glad that I'm here and beginning to realize that this is what Manila, the old Manila, could have been like if we were able to preserve our old buildings. So we have major buildings like this looming in the skyline. So I'm happy that Valletta has them. Okay. So I also remember in my history class is that when you live near the center where the action is happening, where the seat of government is, the ayuntamiento or the governor's house, I'm not sure, don't punish me, my history of architecture teachers. And then you have the church, which is also a very powerful entity in the society during that time. If your house is near that area, you are very influential, you are very rich. And I wonder if it's the same case with Valletta. Although I think these are major buildings as well. So this is definitely a major, this is definitely a modern building. So I'm nearing the end of the street, and we expect that there will be the ocean, the sea. Just unsure if it's the Mediterranean Sea. It should be the Mediterranean Sea. So we are nearing the end of the street, and definitely it's the Mediterranean Sea with all those towers at the corner of the fortifications. This is October. The temperature is very comfortable, around 25 or 24 maybe. Wow. So these are part of the fortifications. So we'll try to cross the street and see what we can view from the edge of the wall. So it's a really quiet part of the island. And if I'm not mistaken, when I joined the boat tour yesterday, I saw this tower. Big anchors. Oh, you can go inside. So let's try to go inside and see what we can show there. But this is the surrounding area, and you can see the church that I showed you earlier. So unfortunately it's a museum, and you need to buy a ticket, and the cameras are not allowed. So I'm continuing my walking tour of Valletta, and this reminds me of a lot of the stone houses in the Philippines, although this is not a stone house. But I come here just to appreciate the view. So if I'm not mistaken, those islands are the three cities: Cospicua, Senglea, and I forgot the other one, but it's one of those three cities.
I'm not really sure. Yeah. This view is good. Oh wow, look at that. Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe it's...
You know, one of the things that I also noticed, since we don't have the beaches that we have in the Philippines, they make do of what they have. They make the coast accessible to anyone who wants to swim. While I was doing a boat tour, I saw a lot of people actually sunbathing on the rocks. And of course, if you're from Southeast Asia, Philippines particularly, and you're used to very nice beaches, I find it a bit uncomfortable. But of course, they make do of what they have, and it's an experience that I also want to to do in the future, probably in another European city. Yeah, and because I don't have much time to stay here, so I also overheard that Malta was a setting for a lot of Hollywood movies. And what I know is that, since I'm a fan of Game of Thrones, is that they shot some of the scenes here. I'm just not familiar which ones, but they say that it might be one of those towers that was part of that show. So that's the gate going through the Maltese Islands, if you can call it Maltese Islands. So I'm walking along the side walls of Malta. So that's a tower. I'm not sure if I want to go there since it's a bit crowded, but I'm sure the view is nice. So okay. So I told you this is a really nice spot for Instagramming, since it's not that crowded. So you can find a lot of streets that are perfect for photo shoots. Now, the dominant architecture fabric are those projecting balconies. I can see a red and a green. I wonder if they're allowed to use other colors. Yeah, so this is an uphill climb, walk rather. So it makes the building more humane in a way that, you know, it expresses the human scale. Because it's a balcony, it becomes smaller. It creates the green a little bit proportional to our measurement. So try to imagine if it's just a building and you just have bunches of holes as windows, then it can be a bit overwhelming as a scale. And since this, we're not sure if this is of Moorish influence, but because they have a some ornamentation, it might be associated with the Mashrabiyya, if I'm not mistaken. It's some sort of arabesque pattern that you find in many Moorish architecture. So really nice wall architecture, and then you have that tower, the church tower at the end. So it really makes it more memorable and identifiable. Like, probably if it's not too hot, I would imagine myself having coffee there. But of course, for the Europeans, they want to sunbathe, so this is probably just nothing for them. So yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue walking, but I plan to go back to Sliema and then go to another Maltese island. But I'm enjoying my walk so far. So here it is with the blue door. It's called culinary. So I'm not sure if they are around. Let's see if they have coffee. It's a dessert place. Yeah, they have banana cakes, Maltese pudding. Maybe I should try that. So I'm done with my coffee, and that was interesting enough. Well, the meringue is the usual meringue, but the Maltese pudding reminds me of the mooncake.